Hello and welcome to the 88th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 4th of March. Holy cow, 2018. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and have your vampire stakes at the ready before you are gathered at the meeting table. We are going to be speaking with former guest Ryan Krippendorf. He was with us in episode 51 when we talked about X-Wing miniature gaming, and he has a new project that he's got on Kickstarter, and it's called Vampire Hunter the Card Game. And at this point, you have, what, 19 days left to go?
13 days. 13 days left to go.
All right.
And we are at 51% of our goal.
Nice. That is a good place to be.
It is. It is.
And I watched the video earlier, and it looks like a pretty sweet game. Got to admit.
It's a pretty simple, it can be pretty fast-paced, sweet little game where you and your friends are trying to kill as many blood-sucking abominations as possible.
Sounds like a good Saturday night to me. We are going to quickly give a thanks to some of our Patreon partners, Brian Jensen, Amy Cantwell, Amy Frost, Growly Bear, Jackie Hearn, and JF Dubois. And we'll tell you a little later on how you too could become a partner with the Galactic Netcast Network. Our second in command here is Glenn Bittner. He is a movie reviewer, does the B-Movie Bunker, and he has created an RPG called Mist Runner, and he's still working on his prequel called Demon Eater. How are you?
I'm just super.
Excellent. Well, we are going to jump right into our game review. We're not doing news. We'd rather spend our time talking with Ryan and Vampire Hunter, the card game. So we are going to get going. What do you have to review for us this evening, Glenn?
This evening, I have the game of literally throwing shade. I bring you Photosynthesis. This is from Hjalmar Hawk, Blue Orange Games. This is 2 to 4 players, plays in about 30 to 60 minutes, and runs about $40. So, in Photosynthesis, you are growing trees. And how do trees grow? Trees need sunlight. So each round, the sun will shine upon the board. Depending on where it is, will determine what trees gather light for the turn, based on where they're located and how tall they are and what is or is not in front of them. Because taller trees will cast shade on smaller trees, and those smaller trees will then not gain light that round. But don't worry, the sun, as it does, moves. Well, actually, the Earth moves, and it basically looks like the sun is moving. So, depending on what your beliefs are, but the sun will move around the board basically, rather than spinning the board around, because that would just be messy. And then different trees will gather light as well. This game it's a lot about thinking ahead to what you want to do later on, because you can block your own trees if you have a taller tree of your own blocking your shorter ones. When the sun shines down the row, you have cheated yourself out of light. And light is how you grow your trees bigger. It's how you get new trees. It's how you drop seeds. The ultimate goal is that you are trying to grow trees that go from seedling to a small tree, to a medium tree, to a large tree, and then you can harvest that large tree for victory points. Victory points are dependent upon how deep on the board the tree is. Because the closer to the edge it is, the more likely it is to always get light. Closer to the center, the more likely it is to get blocked. So the rules are super simple, but there's so much depth to it because of you're always having to think ahead of oh, geez, where do I want to drop this seed? Is this the best time to grow this tree? If I grow this tree now, I'll block, Ryan's tree on the next turn when the sun shines. So it's this kind of knowing when to harvest, knowing when to plant, when to grow, when not to grow. Because you always have to think, okay, so next turn the sun will be here. It'll do this. But if I grow this now thinking I'll gain this sun, but then when it shifts again, to the next spot. Well, now I'm cutting myself off of all this extra light, so I had to hold off, even though it seems like a good idea 1 turn from now. It's a bad idea 2 or 3 turns from now. So there's a lot of having to plan ahead. So it has just so much depth to it, but it still plays fairly quick because you just play the sun. The sun goes around the board twice. That's the game.
Huh.
So a lot going on, a lot to think about. And Blue Orange makes good games.
Yeah, they do. No doubt about that. Yeah, looking at these, if you're checking us out on YouTube, looking at the stand-ups that they have for the different tree types, we've got, looks like we've got a tree with fall colors. I'm going to say that that's, what, is that the oak? Looks like we have oak, pine, and perhaps willow.
Yeah, the trees are just, it's just this difference between the players.
Okay.
So the type of tree doesn't really matter. It's just to have a way to differentiate between which are your trees and which are someone else's trees. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like it would be a lot of fun. And you said about 30 to 60 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. The age range on it, again, is...
What's that?
The age range?
This one, I believe, is 8 and up.
Okay.
So
definitely a good family game to bring out on family game night. Very cool. Ryan.
Yes.
Have you ever tried this game, or does it look interesting to you?
I played it once at the Board Game Barrister, and it was demoed to me, and I didn't grow a thing, just like in real life.
Poor black thumb, Ryan.
It totally have a black thumb. But it's a really nice game, and it plays once you figure it out. And I think I just figured it out a little too late.
Sure.
And it plays really well. And it's a very clean game.
Yeah, it is. The board is very straightforward, very good looking. And the stand-ups, when we were looking at some of these pictures, when we were flipping through boardgamegeek.com to take a look at the board and gameplay, it looked like somebody had created actual wooden trees, or wooden representation of trees.
Yeah, there have been people who have made custom boards and custom pieces.
Sure.
The pieces themselves are actually really good.
Yeah, I absolutely. Top-notch printing on them.
Yeah, the production quality is really good.
And like you said, Blue Orange Games doesn't screw around, so... No, that's very cool. Very cool. All right. And... let's see. And it retails for around 40, and that's a heck of a deal for a game that's got a lot of replayability, and especially something that you can get the whole family in on. Can't shake a stick at that. All right. So Glenn's game review is of Photosynthesis by Blue Orange. 2 to 4 players, about 30 to 60 minutes, and it retails for around $40. Thanks, Glenn.
Absolutely. James Lauder picked this as his game of the year for 2017.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that should really make you take it even more seriously. Not just because Glenn has said that it is awesome, but James Lauder, too, has put his stamp on it.
Bam.
Excellent.
Oops.
Speaking of putting your stamp on things, Die Hard Dice has really put a stamp on having good quality dice at a good price for gamers of all types. And one thing that I noticed just this past week is they occasionally do follower appreciation days on their Facebook page. So if you're a fan of the Die Hard Dice fan page on Facebook, they will randomly select people who follow, who like the page, and give them the opportunity to get $30 worth of merchandise, which that's pretty cool. Todd and his wife, Jessie, do an incredible job with customer service and getting stuff out to people in a very timely fashion with good quality dice. So if that sounds like it's something for you, and they don't just have dice, they also have accessories. Anessa, as soon as they offer another portable dice tray with the snaps on the side, Anessa has to get the new color. And they've released was it purple and blue? They have a green now and a red. And they're all really handy, very beautiful. Check them out. And when you check out, use the code Adventure Party, all one word, Adventure Party, and you can get 10% off of your order. So again, check out dieharddice.com. All right, the Kickstarter Spotlight. Last time, we talked about John Carter of Mars, and they met their goal.
Barely.
Yeah.
They just squeaked by with this.
Oh man, 2,155 backers, and they raised 228,055 pounds and brought this project to life. They were looking for 20,000 pounds, just to let you know how much of a sarcastic guy Glenn is. They smoked their goal, smote it mightily, and this game is coming out for those of you who have backed it. It is a Modifius game, so you know that the quality is going to be there. The miniatures, holy crap. There's very few companies do miniature-based games and miniatures like Modifius. If you're checking us out on YouTube, I just popped them up here for you guys to take a look at. They're absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, it's happening. So we now have a new Kickstarter, and oddly enough, we have the gentleman who created the game with us, Ryan Krippendorf.
Yeah.
And we are going to have you give us the complete rundown of your new game called Vampire Hunter, the card game. So, give us the pitch, Ryan. We'd love to hear about it.
So here's the pitch. In Vampire Hunter, the card game, you play one of the Knights of St. Benedict, and you are trying to kill vampires and collect their fangs. You're trying to collect 15 fangs before any of the other players collect 15 fangs. You can also win the game by being the last vampire hunter left. And that's the semi-competitiveness of it, because I was playing it today at Glenn's store, actually, and it got a little heated, and we let some hunters die.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
But, yeah. So it plays. We wanted a simple game. It's 81 cards in the deck. 6 of those cards are hunters. Each hunter has a different ability. And I think if you go to the updates, that's a hunter right there. That's our, for retail pledges on our Kickstarter, that is our game night exclusive hunter that we'll send out. We'll send a pack of them out to you to plug and use at your store. And Abel is a vampire himself. And when he kills a vampire, he heals damage.
Oh.
Every hunter has 10 life in the game, except for one of them has a special ability. He gets 12 health. And and it makes those 2 health make a world of difference.
I bet.
And then you can kind of see it on that middle card you're showing there, Russia. She's our Kickstarter exclusive, and she's kind of a preview because I partnered up with Matthew Holliday on this, and Matthew Holliday worked on Killer Bunnies. And I put a Facebook shout out like, hey, I need an artist. I can't do all my own art and start a business. I need some help. A lot of people are like, you're an art teacher. You should be doing your own art. And much. It's too much. But Matthew got really into it. And we started talking about, as he was turning in drawings and sketches and we were tweaking some things, we started talking about expansions. And Matthew was like, we should do expansions. And I was like, yeah, we could make expansions happen, but let's get the core set done first. So this vampire is actually kind of a preview of things to come, what we want to do. We want to make the game where the core set is player friendly. And although you can get a little dirty with it, you can't get really super dirty.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make the expansions where you can actually get really cutthroat with your friends and be pretty dastardly. So Rush is an example of it. When she enters the city, she deals a damage to every hunter.
Oh.
And what you can kind of see is there's a little blood splatter in the upper left corner, and that's how much life a vampire has.
Okay.
All right. So, and then if you look in the right corner, there's a pair of fangs and a number in there. That's how much damage a vampire deals to you when you attack it.
Mm.
And damage happens simultaneously unless it's stated in the vampire's card text. And also then if you kill the vampire, its damage value is how you score points. So a Russia is worth 1 point.
Okay, sure. Oh, wow. That's incredibly straightforward.
Really straightforward. I actually we had my grandma's 85th birthday party last night, and a couple of my cousins backed the game, so I brought it along because they wanted to see it and they wanted to play it.
Sure.
And we got one of my uncles to play it, and he is not a gamer in any way, shape, or form. And he picked up on it, and he really got into it, and he was killing vampires left and right. So that was good.
That is cool. It's nice to know that, especially at that point where you're testing things or you're letting people check it out, and it's like family that you may or may not have played games with before, and they're always the ones that are like, how does this go? But you give them something, and they're like, they pick it up right away. You've scored a winner for sure.
Yeah, I've been working on this for about 2 years, and we've got about 1,000 games in. I think it was the last time I checked, about 998 games. I went to a couple proto spiels with it. Played maybe 50 games at each one. Got a little bit of feedback. A lot of people really wanted it to be, I make my custom deck of vampire hunting goodness. And that wasn't exactly what we were going for, because deck building can turn some people off, and we wanted a game for everyone. Even though it's very niche and you're killing vampires, we still wanted a game that anybody could sit down and play.
Sure.
And that's kind of where we went. And then we did a couple blind play tests, that failed, and I learned that I don't know how to write instructions. And
that's the sucky part, man. That's the thing I always have trouble with too.
It's brutal. It's brutal to wrap your head around it. So what I did, kind of to help, and if anybody out there is getting into game design or thinking about getting into game design, I got every instruction manual out for almost every game that I owned. And I just spent an afternoon reading instructions. It was the most god-awful thing I've ever.
I was going to say, you got to want that. You got to want it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, to make a game that people are going to be able to just pick up on, you had to pay that price.
Yeah. So, so I did that. And then I realized, okay, I can do this. And this is how you do it. And once I redid the instructions and I had a better grasp of it, the instructions that actually come in the game, it's a lot more laid out, and it's 1 page. We got everything on 1 page, and I went for simple, and it works really nice. And I did a couple blind play tests with the prototype, and they picked up on it, and they were like, "Oh, this is super easy. Here we go." In we go. And grabbing items and killing bloodsuckers, and
nice.
Too many vampires in the city. So
that is cool. The play testing has, I'm the kind of person who's, I hate to say it, but I can be a perfectionist at times. And at that point where you put something together that you've given a lot of thought and you present it and somebody goes, what? And you think that you've nailed it. It's one of those things where you really kind of can't take it to heart too much and just realize that you've just learned one way on how not to write directions or how not to do a thing.
Exactly.
Which in and of itself is a valuable lesson.
Yeah, exactly. I got really disheartened after the first blind play test, and I was like, this did not go well. And it's like, they missed one rule, and then they were able to like lock the board. And I was like, this game, it's impossible to lock the board because you always have an action. And they just completely forgot about one of the things that you can do. And you can always punch a vampire for 1 damage. You can always attack the vampire for 1.
Nice.
And they forgot about it. And got a couple of people on, and we did it. Like, I was like, immediately, like that night, I was like, no, this can't be right. Like, something didn't go right. So we got on Skype, and I Skyped with them, and they were like, oh, we forgot this rule. Oh, we didn't know. And then all of a sudden it was like the game played super, super quick and super, super fast. And they were like, great, this is what I remember playing with you, blah, 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 blah. I was like, there it is. But yeah, that's, man, the things I learned about making a game. And it all it's funny because it all started, I was playing X-Wing at a board game barrister, and I had faced the same list 4 rounds in a row. And I was like, this isn't even fun anymore. Like, oh my God. And I was complaining about it. And it's not that X-Wing isn't a fun game. X-Wing is a very fun game. But when you see the same list 4 times in a row, and I was complaining about why that list showed up 4 times, because it was good. And people should have been flying it. And somebody came up to me and they were just like, they were all upset about it. And I think they were flying that list. And they were like, if you know so much about games, why don't you make a game? And blah, blah, blah. And it got like super heated. And I was like, fine, I'm going to go home right now and I'm going to make a game. That's what happened. But it got me motivated. It really got me motivated to make a game. And, you know, I sat down with my cousin Jeremy and we brainstormed about 8 different games. And we just kind of picked ones that we were interested in doing to get going. And we got going, and man, we're cranking away now. And we're getting ready to, after this one funds, we're going to put a lot of effort into our next project, and we're just going to keep going, one project after the other.
Sure. No, that's really cool. Yeah. So what would you say what was the biggest lesson that you learned, you know, starting out in this process and getting it to Kickstarter? What is the maybe the hardest lesson that you felt you needed to learn?
You need to know when to stop. When to stop tinkering with the game. When to say enough was enough. And that was tough. That was really tough. When to just set it down and say it's ready. And it needs art, and that's where we were at.
No, never.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Feeling if I ever make, like, I don't know, an RPG, I might be tinkering with it forever, for all eternity, and my fan base will never see it. But
it'd be like your Chinese democracy.
Right. But that was the hardest thing. And then navigating Kickstarter for the first time was a little intimidating. But I was able to, I spent about 2 weeks working on just putting things where I wanted. I did little by little so I wouldn't get frustrated. And when I got to a point where I was like, this isn't what I wanted, and I'd walk away from it and come back to it. And asking for help, just ask people. I was blown away by how forthcoming people were with information. When you just ask for help on a forum or Facebook message somebody that had been through this process before, and they just were like, oh, this is what you have to do, and this is what you're looking for, and you need this type of a file. And it worked really well.
That's really encouraging to, I mean, and we've all talked about this before, that Kickstarter has really kind of helped ignite a renaissance in games and gaming in general. And to know that community that has come together to put out all these different games are willing to help out other people get to, the point that they got to, which was, actualizing their dream of their game and getting it out to people to purchase. So that's always encouraging to hear.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of great figureheads in this. I almost call it like homebrew gaming industry. It's a lot what it reminds me of, like people that homebrew. This is what they do, but we're doing it with games, and we're trying to get people to sample and play our games. And I think a lot of companies like Stonemaier Games that made Viticulture, they have a lot of stuff that you can just, it's overwhelming the amount of resources that they have provided about building a Kickstarter and building a successful Kickstarter. And it can be intimidating, but you just have to know, like, once you realize people are willing to help you, and they're going to hold, I don't want to say they're going to hold your hand, because they're not. You're going to have to, but if you get stuck, they'll point you in the right direction. You're going to, you might spend a day reading. And if you say, like, I originally set a goal, I wanted to launch this Kickstarter in November, and I realized maybe in October, like, that was unrealistic. And I just kept pushing it off. And it was okay. It was okay to say, I'm not ready. And it worked really well, because one, it bought Matthew a lot of time to finish the art. And we could say, like, I mean, we have a finished product. I'm waiting to just send funds to the printer. It's all ready to go. And then I think the only graphic editing thing we have to do is I found one spelling mistake in the rule book, and I have to slap a UPC code on the back of the box, and then it goes to print.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, my goal is product in my backers' hands by June.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was looking around Kickstarter today. I don't know many companies that say, hey, we're going to turn a game around in 4 months and we're going to put it in your hand and get you playing. I have 2 Kickstarters that I'm currently funding. One I funded 2 years ago, and I haven't seen that yet. And I know it's coming. I'm excited for it, but I haven't gotten it yet. And then I backed the Cool Mini or Not Game of Thrones game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, tabletop war, that's not Warhammer. This could be really cool. And I backed it, and I still haven't seen anything from that. And it'll be a year in July.
Yeah, I think that we probably all have been that guy that's waiting for something.
And like, I understand,
we did get retailer confirmation for that.
Did you?
For the Game of Thrones? We had to finalize our numbers. So
nice.
It's happening.
That means it's happening. It means it's happening. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to be, and it's not a bad thing. And I understand how the slow boat from China works and production works and everything else. But I don't want to be that company that says to my backers, it's going to be a year. Like, I'm promising product in your hand by the end of June at the latest, barring any world catastrophe or some act of God. We're going for end of June. It should be in your hand. You should be killing abominations, blood-sucking demon monsters.
That is really cool. And you said that you kind of brainstormed a number of other things, so you've got a couple other things that you're hammering out at this time as well.
We got a couple things we're working on. I have a game that I'm working on. I have a cooking game where you're a chef at a restaurant.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was working in my classroom because I'm an art teacher, and it was a professional development day, and I was cleaning, and I put something on my smart board just to have some background noise, because it gets kind of eerie when you're on a floor all by yourself. And,
like that.
So I didn't want to go insane. So I put on like Hulu or Netflix or something, and there was a commercial for Hell's Kitchen. This idea pops in my head, like I can make a game about making things, like cooking things and like making things. So we have that project in the works. I was telling Glenn today that I have a steampunk miniature game that I'm toying with. I may or may not have already lined up an artist for that who I really, really like his work. And he's actually already drawn some of the characters for a different thing.
Oh, wow.
So excited for that. There's a alien abduction game that we're working on, which we're kind of excited about. That we've been playtesting that one for a while. That one's really close. But our cooking game is something special, and it's one of those games where you get to backstab your friends a little bit,
which is always fun.
So we're about it, and it is a drafting game, but we changed the drafting mechanic a little bit, and we added a gimmick, so you can interrupt the drafting and really upset your friends when you order from them and they can't do anything about it.
Nice.
So yeah, we're excited about that.
Oh, wow.
And we have expansions for Vampire Hunter because Matthew Holliday is an artistic beast and wanted to get going. So he was like, Ryan, make more cards.
Are you going to put more of my X's in that?
I can put more of your X's in it.
Oh, jeez.
I noticed today he was playing, and I looked down one of the cards for a vampire. I'm like, oh, that's one of my exes, and they kind of laughed. I said, no, really, her name Melissa Kelly. I dated her. So, and dated is on the very slim chance that Melissa Kelly sees this, dated is we went out like 3 times, but.
Fair enough.
But for me, that's probably my 4th longest relationship. So that's.
I feel like I need to reach through here and give you a hug, Glenn.
Oh no! I had years, and then nothing much substantial beyond that.
Fair enough.
I'm not bitter or sad. I have friends and I have board games.
There you go. Whatever it takes to fill the void, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
That's legal and won't actually physically harm you. That's my caveat to that.
Okay, so no more heroin.
Yeah, let's lay the.
I don't take it. I just collect it. Because that's what I do. I don't use things that I get. I just collect them.
And when you have extra or you're not using it, you resell it, which is smart. You don't want to end up on hoarders either. So.
No. You don't want to be. No, heroin hoarders is that's an awful thing.
Wow, that took a turn. All right, so.
Ow.
So, yes, this is wrapping up in 13 days, which takes us to Sunday, March 18th, 2018 at midnight Central. And then this particular Kickstarter ends. Once this ends, do you also have plans to get this into retail?
So we did a couple of retail pledge levels.
Okay.
And I sent out a ton of mailers. I built a database of retail stores across the nation, and I sent out postcards just saying, hey, give us a look, please. So my goal is I would rather, as much as, you need Kickstarter to fund when you're small, I would rather see more stores buying my games and putting it on their shelves. Because I really do believe that, as much as it's fun to take a game home and have a Friday night game, gaming communities are public, and you should be out in your local game store playing games and meeting new people, because you might have that game that you bought that you've played once, but you really liked it, but nobody else did. But then, you're at the game store and you find like 4 other people like that game too, and you can get together with them and play that game at the game store. That's kind of how I feel about several of the games I have on my shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. I've got a couple of games that I desperately want to play, but I can't find anybody to play it, and it makes me sad. Which is kind of cool that there's now an app like Game4 from Adam and Matt who put that together, which is kind of nice to get the community kind of better hooked up to get some of these games, played, get people connected who are interested in a game like, what do I have that I want to play? Mythos Tales, which is something I got on Kickstarter.
We just got that in the store. I'm looking forward to trying that.
Let me know how it goes because I have yet to play it. Yeah, you're right. The thing that I like about stores like the Board Game Barrister is that they do demo nights. You know, I've gone to game stores before where they don't demo games at all, and you can't sell well in a void, as it were. You can't. You got to get people touching the thing and interacting with the thing to get them interested to put their money down for it.
Exactly. So I'm going to use that as a segue. So if I can plug a couple things.
Absolutely.
Next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm at 3 different stores running demos of Vampire Hunter. So if you want to come out and see it, Friday night, I'm going to be at Pegasus Games in Madison from 4 to 7. And I will gladly teach you how to stake bloodsuckers. Then Saturday, I'm going to be at Game Town in Waukesha at 1 o'clock. I think I'm there. Noon. I'm there at noon. And then I'll run games as long as people are there. I'll teach you how to kill bloodsuckers. And then I will be at the Board Game Barrister in Greenfield on Sunday. I think it's the 11th. And I will think I'm there from noon to 3, teaching people how to kill vampires.
That is cool. Yeah. And it's even better when you get a chance to talk to the creator of the game and actually get to meet the person who had the passion and the vision to create the thing that you're playing and you're interested in. And it gives you a chance to kind of shake hands, kiss babies, and let people know about your new company, especially, and what you've got planned and what you've got going on, and get them interested for future endeavors that you got planned out. So there's nothing wrong with that for sure. Yeah, I love, I'm looking at the art here. I'm going to switch back to screen share. Yeah, finding that. Oh, go ahead.
If you go to the updates.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think I posted in updates. There should be some of these updates have better art in it. Like All Out of Vampires. I put some pictures in there. There's one that has, there we go. There's some bloodsuckers.
Nice.
These are vampire minions and fledgling vampires. They're kind of generic vampires that creep into your city and you got to take care of them. And they're really weak compared to the lords that.
Oh, sure.
For instance, like the vampire minions, they let your stakes do extra damage without having an ability. You just have to have the stake. And then that fledgling vampire, you can actually attack that vampire and kill it before it attacks you back. So they're easy ways to pick up quick points in the game.
Sure.
And then I'm trying to think of what update. There's one that's all about the hunters, and I have all 6 hunters in there. The one about the hunters, that's the one.
Oh, there we go.
Those are our 6 heroes in the core set. Father Kent, Dr. Raymond Daniels, Robert Scher, Bruce Chan, Sarah Winter, and Elisa Weathers. And they all have a unique ability. And if you look at the card, if you pick one and focus on it, you'll see that you have 3 spots to hold items. You have a right hand, a left hand, and a bag.
Sure.
So that kind of explains kind of how the gimmick works. You're only holding 3 cards in the hand, and you get to see what everybody else is holding. at all times. Everything's face up, which is unique in the game because you can kind of plot against and see what your opponent's next best move is, and you can think, how can I foil them? Like, what can I take out of the city to counter him, or what vampire do I need to kill to make it not worth him using that item to get points? And it's a different strategy, and because everybody's cards are on the table, literally face up on the table.
I like how you've got like a dossier feel. You've got the Polaroid picture, and then the papers kind of underneath that for each individual.
Yeah, and
that's a nice touch.
That's all Matthew Holliday. I can't thank Matt enough for his artwork. I can't. I sent him what I wanted, and it was kind of like, yeah, okay, we could do that. And then it was like the next day, it was like, or we could do this. And it fell into place, and it really, I think that, it's my game, and I hate to talk about it, but as a game goes, I think it looks really clean.
No, it does. It does. I'm just admiring these are a little bit smaller than the actual cards, obviously. Once you pointed out, the left hand, the right hand, and then the bag at the bottom, it's like, oh, well, of course, that makes perfect sense. So you just put your stuff, in the upper right, upper left, and then underneath, and boom, you're done. And that's what your character's got.
Yep. I'm trying to think which update has it. Let me look here quick. But one of the updates actually I talked about strategy, and I talked about using Sarah Winter's abilities. I think it's the one about the items. And there are the Facebook event links.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
There it is. Yep. So it talks about how to combo cards together, because if you're holding, you can't use two weapons at the same time. So I can't double stake a vampire, but I can use an item and a weapon at the same time. So when you're looking at what Sarah's holding there, she has a silver stake in one hand and she has a holy cross in the other hand. So she's reducing incoming damage while getting the maximum output out of her ability, which is to add +1 damage when using stakes.
Oh, holy crap. So with the silver stake, boom, that's 4 points right there.
And she can, if Sarah gets her hands on a silver stake, she can pretty much go to town and kill any bloodsucker she wants, minus a lord.
Sure.
And then you'll notice on the wood stake where it says one-time use. So after she would use that item, it would go to the discard pile.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then she would have to restock. She would have to find something else to use. But the silver stake doesn't go away. And then one of the gimmicks we have in the game to kind of control somebody getting their hands on a silver stake early or a sword early is there are vampires that when you kill them, you can force another player to discard items.
Oh, okay.
So one of the cards that does that is a vampire thief, and I'm going to be showing that guy off probably next weekend in an update. We got something planned, but the next update I want to do is I want to show off the lords. I haven't shown them off yet, and I got some fabulous art on them.
Yeah, we've spoken in the past on how art can kind of make or break a project. And it looks like you have a very good partner handling your art for this.
Yeah. Well, I was watching, because really what you do when you start a game is you start a business, right? You're starting a small business. So I was watching all these Google analytical videos and all this stuff, and you kind of fall down a rabbit hole. But one thing I kept hearing was, get people to do stuff for you that you can trust so you don't have to worry about it. And I got Matt to do the art, and I trusted Matt, and I put full faith in him and cut him loose. And there were very few things I asked him, go back and put a beard on this guy, and maybe change this just a little bit and make this maybe a little larger and less background and more foreground. And that was about it. And it just came together really quick. And Matt's a delight to work with. So I was excited.
Makes it even better.
Yeah.
Makes it even better. That's awesome. When you're talking about starting a business, what, since you're just starting out, are you going to be handling the shipping yourself, or do you have like a fulfillment company that you're working through to get these out?
So I spent about weeks looking at fulfillment, and what I realized is fulfillment is the boogeyman of the gaming industry. And I spent a lot of time talking to a couple store owners. I spent a lot of time talking to Gordon at the Board Game Barrister about it. And what I realized is I was like, everybody was telling me, do Amazon fulfillment, do Amazon fulfillment. But unless I'm doing a drastic amount of product every week, it's not profitable.
Sure.
And there's a good chance you can lose money doing it. So what I do is I'm going to take this game and I'm going to have a night where I print and package all the copies of Vampire Hunter that need to go out. And, you know, it's just, it is what it is. You got to put the work in. You want to make it happen. You've got to say, you know what, I got to put down the PS4 controller game store at night, and I got to do some work on the game. And, you know, it's tough, but you do it.
Yep.
You're passionate about it. If you got something that you really like, or you really want to see it get made, it's easy to put down that PS4 controller.
No, absolutely. Especially if it sounds to me like this is your dream. Like if you could, you would maybe stop being a teacher and just focus on making games and building your company.
If I could turn a decent profit and I could support my family, you bet. There's no question. That's what I would do. I'd stay at home with my daughter all day and make games at night.
No, that does sound good.
Got to be on China time to get things rolling. Yeah, but starting a business is really intimidating. And I actually had a lot of friends message me because I've been trying to grassroots all the advertisement for this besides retail stores. And I had a lot of friends on Facebook that I hadn't talked to in a while, or maybe hadn't seen since like high school, other than like messaging them on Facebook and whatever else. But they were like, dude, like, way to go for it. Like, way to just put yourself out there. And there are days where you're tracking the Facebook or tracking the Kickstarter and you're looking at your phone and you're like, oh, we haven't picked up a pledge in a while and whatever. And then you get one of those texts from somebody and you're like, I can do this. Like, it's going to happen. And I lately more and more feel like, yeah, we're getting there. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to come together. I have a feeling it's going to come together that last week, but it's going to come together. I have a feeling next weekend is going to be big for us.
Well, I can tell you what, you sold me on it, and I am backing it right now.
Nice.
If my computer will let me. I don't know why it's squawking at me. I'm having some weird computer things.
About time, man. I mean, I backed Ryan 12 minutes ago.
I know, I'm a slacker. What can I say? There we go.
When Glenn backs it.
You got to take that seriously. There we go.
I've never backed a failure.
Oh, no pressure. No
pressure at all.
There it is.
It's like talking about a no-hitter in the 9th inning. Way to go, Glenn.
You got this. Like you said, you got 13 days to go.
13 days to go, less than $1,000. It's doable. It's really doable.
And you're over 50% of the way there. You got this.
Yeah.
You got this.
Stay positive.
Absolutely. And you're from Wisconsin, so I mean, Wisconsin people are good, wholesome, hearty people that they do what they say that they're going to do, and it's going to happen. Boom.
Yep, that's exactly it. Exactly it.
Oh man, I do. I admire your courage. I have a hard time putting myself out there for things like that, and that, you know, that's got to be hard to do, you know, full-time job teaching and then starting your own business on top of that. So kudos to you, sir. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
And how cool would it be to be a stay-at-home dad who's got his own gaming empire?
It'd be awesome. I joke at work, like when I pass a colleague in the hall and they'll say, "Good morning, how are you?" And I'm always like, "I'm living the dream." And like that, literally, like being a stay-at-home dad and making games, that would be the dream. That'd be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Absolutely. Now I noticed that you mentioned your the vampire as a bonus for first print exclusives.
Yes. And
now,
there's Kickstarter exclusive.
Okay. I see the Abel's Gauntlet, which looks pretty badass.
That's pretty sweet. That was actually Matt was like, "How about this for the silver stake?" And I was like, that's not what I envisioned. And he was like, "Okay, well, I'm saving it because it's badass." And I was like, "Yeah, like we're gonna get that somewhere. It's gonna happen." And kind of put it in the back of my mind, like I need to do a Kickstarter exclusive, and I didn't want to tell people like right away. So I waited to the end of the first week, and then I was like, "All right, here's the Kickstarter exclusive. Look at this badass silver staked up gauntlet that breaks one of the fundamental mechanics and lets you hold two weapons in a hand. You know, and you can pile a bunch of stakes on top of it, and then just cut loose and keep stabbing, keep ending vampires."
That's just a beautiful design, though.
It's really clean, and
yeah.
You know, we did research. I did a lot of research on the folklore and like coming up with this idea like the Knights of Saint Benedict, right? And there's kind of a thing to it. Like there were actually the Knights of Saint Benedict, and they were about protecting people from evil. And we actually Matt altered the medallion that they would wear for protection, and he altered it a little bit, and then we actually made it into a card. But that's that little silhouette in the background there that you see on all the items. And we came up with the idea early on to make all the items look like book pages, like they were coming out of your vampire or hunter manual, and go find this and use it and end some blood sucking abomination. I'm saying that, just it's so good. So good.
It just sounds so visceral, so feels like you got to end it with just a in your voice.
Right.
All right. No, this is really cool, and I am looking forward to owning this game and having it in my library. Yeah, we when I say we, a group of my friends and I do a regular gaming night, and if something happens where we can't run an RPG, we'll say we're going to play, you know, a board game or something, and we'll all like throw a bunch of stuff in a bag, and then we come to play, and then we just, you know, take a look at what we've got, and if something seems like, you know, pretty easy to pick up, if it hasn't been played before or a game that we really like to play as a group, then we'll play it. And to be able to play a game that is fast paced like this, you'd be able to get a number of games in. It looks like there's a lot of replayability, and you're talking expansions already. This game's gonna have some longevity, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited to see what happens. We started looking at expansions, and it's a whole nother monster. But we're looking at other ways to play the game, other ways to add cards to your deck and play the game differently to give it longevity. And we were thinking about when I started throwing that idea around. I was thinking about Last Night on Earth and how much replay value a game like Last Night on Earth has, where it can be different. You can play the same mission 10, 15 times, but because of the different heroes you have or the items in the deck or whatever, it's a different game every time. And it's something that's You know, you play enough games and you want to take all those pieces of games that you like and you want to include them in one of your own.
Sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, one more time, let's if people want to find out more about you and Vampire Hunter the card game, where should they go, Ryan?
I would go, so if you're specifically looking for Vampire Hunter the card game, go to Kickstarter. You can search Krippendorf Games, or you can search Vampire Hunter. If you search Vampire Hunter, it's the very first thing that pops up. And that'll get you it. If you want to follow Krippendorf Games and stay in touch with our upcoming projects or exclusive cards, or there's talk that we might be at some cons coming up, find out where we're going to be to score some exclusive cards, follow us on Facebook at Krippendorf Games. And if you type in Krippendorf Games, because there's not many Krippendorfs in the world, you'll find us right away.
Nice. Very nice.
And I can always be emailed at krippendorfgames@gmail.com. So that's KRIPPENDORF games@gmail.com.
Nice. All right. Well, I do want to wrap things up here a little bit. If you enjoy Adventure Party and would like to do more than just subscribe, please consider becoming a partner with us. I mentioned this earlier in the show. Go to gncasts.com/support and click on the Patreon link. We have different levels, and all the rewards we have are at $1, $3, and $5 a month. You can get your name mentioned before the show, receive a bonus podcast, which comes out every month, or you can have a message read by one of us. Again, you can go to gncasts.com/support. Let's see. If you'd like to chat with one of us, you can go to gncast.com/signup, and we can add you to our Slack team, and you'll have the ability to interact with us in the Slack app, excuse me, in real time. Again, you can go to gncasts.com/signup. You can find more episodes at gncasts.com/adventure. That is our home. And if you have a question about or comment about anything that you've heard on this particular episode or any other episode that you've heard before, excuse me, good Lord. Wow, I apologize. You can call us at 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. Or you can go to gncasts.com/contact, and we do read, listen to, and appreciate any and all of your feedback. You can subscribe to this show or any of the other shows in the Galactic Network podcast stable by going to gncasts.com/ and there goes my tongue. gncasts.com/subscribe. You can also find our shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or lots of other places they show up. They show up in strange places, and that sounds weird, but there are folks that actually put together lists of podcasts that they kind of dig, or you can find us all over the place. Also, one final thank you I want to give out to is to Mark Woldridge, who is the composer of our theme music. And Mark has his own company called Central Battery Music Works. Thank you, Mark. I want to thank you, Ryan, for joining us again. Even though it's been a little while, we definitely want to have you back again, especially when you launch your next product that you put out. Again, if people want to get a hold of you, where should they go?
Hit us up on Facebook, search Krippendorf Games, and you'll find us there. You can email me at krippendorfgames@gmail.com, or you can go right to the Vampire Hunter Kickstarter by searching Vampire Hunter on Kickstarter. And you'll find us right.
There it is. And we would love to have you back on the show, Ryan.
Anytime, just ask.
Absolutely. Glenn.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for coming, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
We love having you here. Say, if people want to find out more about you and all the things that you do, where do they go, Glenn?
they go on the internet and they look for the BB Bunker, which is on Facebook and on YouTube, as is Guy in a Bunker Productions. You can go to guyinabunker.com. You can go to nakedhobo.com for all my old stuff. You can also find me on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker.
There you go. And you can also,
stuff, but you know, I'm everywhere.
You are the BFD, my friend, the BFD. And also you've got some horror shorts that you've got out there as well that people can check out and or purchase. So I encourage you to do so. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us at the adventure party here. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. And I will kill this frog in my throat. I swear to God. Thank you and good night. Good night to this GD frog in my throat.